I would love to see some more affordable housing that's green, made with great materials and totally off-grid. I would like to see solar panels on the top of every building in this town.
Yes.
Feeding into the grid. We have some great hydropower in the region, and I'd like to see us explore if there's any other places where it makes sense environmentally. I would love to see a greenhouse at the school, greenhouses all over the place, and summer gardens as well. And the concept of zero waste being not just an idea, but something that we're actually embraced. And then have a greater communication with the west end of our county and really have that a tighter knit regional community.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. I'm in the beautiful city of Telluride, Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains with the snow on the caps and the golden aspen. This is a beautiful time to be here. My guest is Kris Holstrom, who is the Sustainability Coordinator of the New Community Coalition. Yeah?
Yes, indeed, and
Thank
welcome
you.
to Telluride.
Thank you. It's gorgeous. I love it.
It's a beautiful time of year.
Well,
We like it.
thanks for having us here. What is the New Community Coalition? I mean, what is this?
The New Community Coalition is a nonprofit that was formed after the three governments in our region. We're a large county, but we have a town of Telluride, the town of Mountain Village, which is the home of our ski area, and San Miguel County. The three governments got together, and actually with some encouragement from a few of us, decided that the sustainability coordinator position made sense. In looking at all the things that were happening in our region, we have a great deal of oil and gas exploration. We're very sensitive to our environment because it is such an incredibly beautiful place. We're a tourist economy, so we need to protect that. And the idea was that we did need a person, one central location where people could come for information and ideas that would further sustainability. So the three governments funded this nonprofit, which we started, and just actually started this January of 2007. And we've been very busy since that. I was hired in January, and I'm a 21-year local. It was not a done deal by any means to have a local come on, but I'm very excited to be in this position. Love our community and love the people here, and am passionate about the environment. And so our first step was to form the nonprofit and then develop an action plan.
Well, so let's back up. You're dealing with actions for two towns, which are very close to each other, actually, and a whole big county.
And a county.
Woo, that's a lot to be covering.
It's a lot to encompass. And our county is very diverse. This is the headwaters of the county here in Telluride. So we go from 12,000, 13,000, 14,000 foot peaks on this end to a very diverse ranching community, lower elevation and
drier,
much warmer and drier in the west end of our county, which stretches all the way to Utah.
So what were the kind of concerns that you want to be paying attention to?
We actually decided that we have 5 major areas that we focus on. Energy efficiency and renewable energies. That's close to everybody's heart right now. The second is green building.
Okay.
The third is food security. We're at the end of a long road, and if avalanche or mudslide takes out the road, which has happened in the past, we're very vulnerable. So food is an important one. Let's see, economy. It's kind of the catch-all for all the things that we don't know where to put everything else. And recycling, so resource recovery is
keeping things. Okay, so energy, food.
Yep.
Is water in there?
Food and water issues kind of together. Yes.
Your economy, waste.
And green building.
Green building, okay. So what kinds of goals, tasks, how are you approaching this?
So the action plan was a major piece of work, and we presented it to the 3 governments in August, and had priorities for this year and next year, and then for 5 years out. For example, in energy, we want to have all the governments have energy efficient lighting, mostly CFL bulbs, in the government offices.
CFL?
Compact fluorescent.
Thank you.
and much more efficient, uses a lot less energy, doesn't produce heat. So actually that's mostly been accomplished. The governments have that on board.
The lighting.
We want to work closely with our local Rural Electric Association. And a project we're going to be starting, we're actually announcing it this week or next week, is to do a small energy audit program. So people can apply, and we will pick 4 or 5 to do a full energy audit on their house. So we'll go in and we'll do a blower door test and find out where their leaks are. We'll look at the kind of lighting they have, and also do an infrared photo so we can see where their
heat leaks
is leaking out.
Oh, nice.
And then we'll choose one of those and actually do up to $1,000 worth of work on their home. We'll help do the caulking and look at window treatments and some of the lighting. Because it's not so hard to find out where your energy is leaking. I found this out personally. I've done an energy audit. The actual task is accomplishing the fixes.
Yes.
So we're excited about that program. And then we're also working with them to develop a solar on school module so that we can have a small unit with curriculum that could go on any school in our
So
region.
that you'd be educating your young people about photovoltaics for electricity.
Yep.
Okay.
Here in Colorado, let's see, there's 365 days in a year, and we average 300 sunny.
Seems to me like your area is a ripe one for photovoltaics everywhere.
It is. It is. You know, our major wind resources are on the eastern side of our state, but we have incredible sun and people interested in it. So those are a couple of the things that we're doing in energy. What we are looking at through our green building code process, we're trying to develop a comprehensive green building code for each of the 3 governments, is can we reduce building permit fees? Can we, another avenue that many places are taking in Aspen and Crested Butte is a REMP fund, a Renewable Energy Mitigation Program. So because we have a lot of second homeowners, large houses, if they don't feel they can follow some of our green building requirements, that there would be a buyout and that they could purchase their way out of those requirements, and that fund would go into our REMP fund, and then we could spend that money on local projects.
So that takes us to your green building plan, since that's one of your components.
Yes.
What are you envisioning?
Well, first we actually successfully passed a green building code in the Mountain Village, and that was a great first step. They had no green building code. And the next step is I've got a couple of assistants who are doing really great work and looking at how we can incorporate the best of green building codes or programs that are out there, like LEED and Built Green.
LEED is Leadership for Energy
in
in environment design, but it's a
Yes.
whole program with lots of checklists of ways to reduce energy in both building and then its operation.
Yes,
Right?
and that's a third-party certification, which is kind of nice for our governments.
Yes.
Built Green also has one, and then we just found out that there may be a national green building standard coming out next year. So we hope we're not reinventing the wheel, and we'll just look at that and then tweak it for our particular location.
So that's aimed for new buildings.
Yes.
Anything about retrofits? I mean, you may not be able to pioneer that because you don't have the
Right.
funding, but that's going to be an issue, I'm
It's
sure.
going to be an issue. That's one place where the energy audit can kind of dovetails with this, is that we can at least look at the structures we have and make them as efficient as possible.
Yes,
So.
yes. What about food security?
Food's a tougher one here. We're at 9,000 feet, 8,750 is the elevation of Telluride.
And that it's, with mountainsides here,
Yes.
and you don't have the kind of
We have no growing
soil
season.
and a short season.
Yeah. So of course, our climate is changing. I've noticed this as I'm also an organic farmer who lives off grid. So it's incredibly variable. Normally, our last frost is the first week of June, although we've had snow on the first day of summer and we've had snow on the 4th of July. And then usually in the fall, our first frost comes in mid-September. And this year it was at least 2 weeks late. So we've got that variability to deal with. We do have some opportunities on the west end of our county, which is lower, and they have senior water rights, which water rights is a huge issue in Colorado. It's fairly convoluted, but we're trying to look at ways that we can encourage food production in the west end of our county that we could tap into. And then another program that I really like is I've gotten involved with geodesic dome greenhouses from Growing Spaces, which is a company in Pagosa Springs, Colorado.
Okay.
They're beautiful structures, and I was involved in a project where we put one up nearby. It's 52 feet in diameter.
It's big.
Big, but they're gorgeous. And actually I have a neighbor who has a small one, and I called him up when it was 13 below zero outside on our mesa. And I said, how's your greenhouse? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's 13 below zero. How are the plants? He's like, they're fine. So he was able to grow winter salad greens all winter with no heat, and he's at 9,200 feet. So we're trying to get a community greenhouse of the same design in part of our community, and encourage, we've helped start our first community garden. It's very small, but it's started.
It's a start, all right.
So one is to show people that even a little bit of food grown locally makes a difference, and then mostly get people aware of how vulnerable we are, and that we need to be really paying attention to where our food comes from.
I would hope that down the road that you can encourage, as you've got growers in the west end of your county, that can be a direct supply to your mountain communities here.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be your perfect thing. Growers to come down from there, do a growers market, whatever.
Which feeds into, everything's interrelated in this field, as you know, the economy. So if we can help the people on the west end of our county, which is a farming, ranching, and mining community, develop additional sources of income that actually really benefit the entire county, that's a real plus.
Sure, sure. I can see enormous opportunities for all kinds of partnerships and
Yes.
collaborations and so on.
Yeah.
Now, what haven't we covered?
Resource recovery.
Aha.
Yep. One of our issues is because we have a large second home owner population and we have a huge amount of development going on right now, is construction recycling. So incorporated into our green building code, we want to require construction materials recycling, whether that's reusing things that are still usable or reducing them through making, turning pallets, wood pallets into wood chips, and then possibly turning that into energy through a biomass plant. So we're looking at those kinds of operations and what would make sense here. We're ski town in the winter, and in the summer we're a festival town. And I've worked with a couple of the Bluegrass Festival and the Blues and Brews Festival to do composting for those festivals for several years. We were shipping that off to a commercial compost facility that's a couple hours away, and they closed this spring. So we have to develop our own composting facility.
So you're looking for composting chippable waste, I mean green waste.
So from the
Debris and so
festivals,
on.
we require them to use biodegradable products, all the
good.
vendors.
Okay.
And staff the educational parts where people can come and help get their trash sorted at the festival.
Okay.
But we have to follow through, and this was an important theme working with the governments and the codes and everybody else, is you can't just say you've got to do this. You can't just say you need to recycle your construction waste. You have to have the infrastructure in there to do it.
I would think so, because we visited, more and more communities are creating resource or outlets for reusable building materials. I realize that for most developers, it is far more efficient for them to just buy things wholesale, not go buy used things. So you have to have both a market as well as an outlet for those materials.
In addition to the regulations to give them that incentive or disincentive to make it happen.
Yes.
One of the things in the mountain village is that the space is so small, and there's 3 or 4 major projects going on, is they realize that if they can grind their construction waste, they will save on their trash fees. So we throw that economic part in there as well.
Yes, we recently had a green building built in our community, and one of their vendors was the materials reuse person who took every bit of their trash and funneled it off into different reusable, outlets.
Which can be a money-making business.
Of course.
Which,
I mean, there's the business part.
Yes.
This business of opportunities all over the place here.
indeed.
So, did we cover all the areas?
I think we did.
What are you doing in terms of educating your community? Because part of this is just a totally different way to work.
Right. That's the kind of the 6th area. That's not really a program area, but that's key to what we're doing. We try to work with the schools closely. I had the 6th grade came up to our farm last week and dug potatoes, and the 4th grade visited. We talked about packaging and energy use and transporting food, and then we visited our grocery store so they could determine where things came from, and then we went to the farmers market. So it was a great field trip.
Sounds great, yes.
And they really got the idea of what we were talking about. So that's part of it. We're putting out an online newsletter to kind of keep people up on what we're accomplishing and doing or working on, and bringing people into the community. We have this whole month of October of 2007 is the sustainability season, and another kind of theme is collaborative efforts. So I'm working with the Telluride Institute, which has run the Ideas Festival, and then we've expanded
Ideas Festival.
all sorts of ideas.
About everything just to make this a better community, or mostly about
Yes,
sustainability,
they've
or?
been doing it for 20 plus years. And some of the early, actually Al Gore was here as a senator in, I believe it was 1985, as part of their Ideas Festival. The last two have been about sustainability because it's such a important issue.
It's critical.
And so this year they're collaborating with my organization, the New Community Coalition, and the Telluride Ecology Commission to get this work, get the word out about sustainability in general. So this coming weekend we're having a mini sustainability film festival with films on all topics, and then we're going to have two of the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers.
No, we know.
And
Two
two
women.
out of 13 of the
Indigenous ground. Tell me a little bit about
Oh,
this.
this is an incredible group. So this Council of 13 Grandmothers met, I believe, 3 years ago. And it was a prophecy from many different indigenous cultures that a group of grandmothers would come together and show us the way.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, me too. And they met with the Dalai Lama last year.
Oh.
And they're very, very powerful. And basically, how are we going to move through the crisis, the environmental crisis, the social crisis, the spiritual crisis that we're kind of in? How are we going to move through it to a better way? So we're going to have two of them here. All 13 are going to converge on Bioneers this week or this month. So we've grabbed two of them before that. And we're going to have them talk about the heart of sustainability, because
Yes.
sometimes you'll see people use the three-legged stool as an analogy for sustainability. There's economic, and there's environmental, and there's cultural. And to me, either the stool itself has to be spirit, or we're missing a leg. Because if you don't involve spirit in some way, we're missing a large part of why we're here.
So spirit, say a little bit more about what you mean about that.
It's our heart. It's why are we here? Are we here just to make money and buy things and use things? Are we here to help each other out? Are we here to make the world a better place? Why do we connect with each other? Why are relationships important to us? So, to me, it's that, and we don't need to call it one religion or another. That's not it. It's about our relationship to each other and our land and where we are. So I think that's an important part that's been missing in the discussion.
I think that to only approach it from the practical or the intellectual, that doesn't get down to the motivational level for why do we change our story, why do we change our hearts from as much material comfort as we can get, which does rob from others and does rob from the planet, to a very different story. I'm really pleased to hear about the Indigenous grandmothers, because they're people who have survived without using up the planet, have a lot of wisdom.
Exactly.
I think.
And that's their task. They asked themselves when they met the first time, are we willing to take on this task? And they thought about it and they said yes. So we're so honored to have them coming to our community.
Truly. We'll wait to hear about that.
After them, the next week is about food.
Okay.
And we're bringing in Ann Cooper, who actually used to live in Telluride and had a restaurant and did catering, and is now running the Berkeley School Lunch System and works with Alice Waters. So we hope to get...
with the edible schoolyard, right?
Alice
Helping
does
children doing gardens in their schoolyards and then coming and eating from that.
And then Anne has a book called Lunch Lessons, basically changing the way we think about our school lunch system. So we're going to tap into her knowledge for that. And we'll also be celebrating our last farmers market and having a harvest dinner and a showing of a movie by a woman in Durango, which is a nearby community, called Heart and Soil.
Heart and Soil.
It's about sustainable ag and the people who make it happen in the Durango region. So that'll be exciting. And then the last weekend of the Telluride Ideas Festival will be the Sustainability Summit, where we hope to bring people together working in sustainability in Colorado to begin this network. The position I'm in is quite unique, being
Yes.
a government-funded
Yes.
coordinating position for sustainability. But even in the few months that I've been in this job, I've gotten calls from other communities who recognize the need for it and are developing similar positions. So let's bring the people working in this area together so that we can create something that's a little bit stronger and divvy up the workload to a certain extent.
Sure, sure. And get the best ideas and practices from each
Exactly.
other, and know who you can borrow from and work together with. That's
We
excellent.
really don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to make the momentum a little faster. So in order to do that, we need to know what each other's doing.
How does one person do all this?
Well, I'm not just one person, thank goodness. I do have a little bit of help in my office with one person who really is working on the energy side of it. She's got a background in solar, and actually she's a mechanical engineer, so great brain and enthusiastic. And then another young woman who's helping me part-time in the green building. So on my farm, I have interns who come and basically they do almost all the work. But to me, it's about a community. And so I've kind of taken that same concept to this job. And I don't want to put a job description out there and have people apply. It's kind of the people who end up coming to me are the people I'm supposed to be working with. So the people I'm working with in this job are kind of like interns. They bring their own knowledge and passion and ideas, and it's a group effort. There's no way one person can do all this work.
I mean, you've got enough here to keep your whole town busy for a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Because both with the people who are here all the time, as well as people who are only here part of the time, tourists as well. I mean, that we all need to have our sights lifted.
And we feel that's one of the things that we can do that'll be really positive is become a model and show people who are just coming for a weekend of skiing or maybe 2 weeks of staying here that they can take some of these ideas back to their own communities and make a real concerted effort at making a difference.
It needs to be done everywhere we're living.
Yeah.
So in our last 5 precious minutes, what kind of message, what moves you to do this? What message do you like to leave people with?
I think it's all about community and it's all about relationships. I do this because I love this community and I love the land that I am fortunate enough to caretake up on Hastings Mesa. We are privileged, very privileged to live here. And I think with privilege comes responsibility. So that I've taken on as my responsibility is to spread the word in any way that I can and inspire people to help and be part of the effort that needs to happen if we're going to have any kind of future that's going to be meaningful and valuable and not just a survival future, which is a scenario that is all too possible.
That's right.
So to me,
That's
it's visioning. It's like, what is the best you can imagine? What's the best world you can imagine? And let's make it happen.
Knowing in there that we're looking at resource declines. We're going to look at tighter budgets. So that you kind of have to do both, don't you think? How do we live the best green, sustainable as we can, and also think about our vulnerabilities as a community
Exactly.
in the face of the future, and what do we have to work with?
So the community really is the core of why I do what I do. It's it's what makes me happy too, which is great. I get to doing a job that you love doesn't make it a job. It's a lifestyle, and it's important that we all try and find that, I think.
Where do you find the challenges? Where are the spots that's going to
The
take
hardest
some work?
challenge right now is that there's only 24 hours in the day, and I require sleep. That is it. And I think hopefully as the word gets out more and more people are aware, that we'll get more people involved in the actual work, and that will make it easier. The challenge is there's so much information out there right now, and there's many people working on this. So how do we expand our network of people listening and talking and bringing ideas back to our core group? I'm hoping to get some of the high school students involved in that. All the newsletters on the line that have really great information. And okay, what can we pull from that we could use right here?
Oh, so you do some info scouts is kind of
Exactly.
what you need.
Great
Folks that
term.
like to surf, so they can scout out the best. And the need for that is a consolidated place. Is it also there? I
Yes.
could see that that would be a service.
So we act as a hub for information and ideas, and like I say, the biggest challenges are just a little bit of feeling the time pressure that there are many crises looming.
Yeah.
And on one hand, maybe it's a good thing. We need a crisis to spur us to action, but on the other, it would be a lot easier on us all if we can plan for it as best we can.
Sure.
And make changes now. So.
Do you think that your councils, your government bodies, have that sense of the urgency that you do?
A few of them do. It's very hard to jump from status quo to emergency situation. A few of them are aware of that, and they don't really want us to plan for that, but basically I think that's part of what we have to do.
I would think so.
Is how we're going to handle resource decline and how global warming is going to affect the ski area. So it's in the back of their minds, certainly, maybe in the front of some of them. And I think that was really one of the reasons they were willing to fund this type of an organization, because the work does need to get done. Yeah.
So if you had a picture of where your community would be, we've got a minute and a half left, in 5 years, where do you see? What would you like to see?
I would love to see some more affordable housing that's green, made with great materials and totally off-grid. I would like to see solar panels on the top of every building in this town.
Yes.
Feeding into the grid. We have some great hydropower in the region, and I'd like to see us explore if there's any other places where it makes sense environmentally. I would love to see a greenhouse at the school, greenhouses all over the place, and summer gardens as well. And the concept of zero waste being not just an idea, but something that we're actually embraced. And then have a greater communication with the west end of our county, and really have that a tighter knit regional community.
I could imagine that having many more farms, organic, local, whatever, in your drier region would also be a
great.
nice part of your vision.
Yes, because we have 2 organic growers in our county, and we can't supply food for the whole county. So many more growers would be a wonderful part of that scene, and that connects us all back. If the kids and people can connect back to their food source, food and water and shelter. I mean, those are the
essential
That's the
needs.
essentials: food,
Right.
water, shelter, and community. So
You
if we
got it.
can, if we can do that in 5 and 10 years, and that's all part of it, I'll be very happy.
Kris, I'd like to visit you in 5 years, see how far you've come, celebrate what you've done, and more power to you and your whole community.
Thank you,
'Cause it
and
takes a village.
we'll send you the invitation.
We'll take it.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
You're watching Peak Moment, community responses for a changing energy future. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Join us next time.